Here's how you can tell if you are currently watching the wrong video. If you do not remember or were not alive when the following logos were available on television, you are in the wrong place. Here's the disclaimer before we get started, as I do in most of my videos. The intention of my content is not to offend anyone, and so if you disagree with me, that is fine. Please feel free to comment that below, but always remember to keep it respectful. Let's all be kind to each other, guys. All right, let's begin. I miss old television. Okay, I miss it. I miss all aspects of it. I miss when you used to have theme songs. I miss when people actually used to do interesting things in television. I miss when people took risks in television. I miss when they talked about serious topics and did not romanticize them. One of the things that I think we did not appreciate as much as a society back in the day was turning on the television and knowing that more than likely most of what you watched was going to be entertaining. And I hate to sound like a boomer, but let's be quite frank, most of us have realized that TV has gone to shit. I'm not even going to get started on what's being shown today for kids on TV because I can't even watch it for more than 3 seconds. And that's not because I just don't want to get comfortable with the newer things that are on television intended for the younger generation. It's just bad. I'm going to introduce to you guys what I like to call the bad TV recipe, which unfortunately includes 1 cup of inconsistency flour, half a tablespoon of plot holes, and 3/4 of a cup of unnecessary and misused nostalgia. And at first, I thought maybe it was only me and a select small group of people who actually feel like TV has completely gone to crap. But then I went online, and turns out there are plenty of people who agree with me. I want to be very clear about what I mean when I say that TV is a lot different from what it used to be. Today's shows do touch on serious topics, which is not the problem. As the media desensitizes us to more violence, yes, I think shows are getting more and more violent to try to keep up with that. In the 80s and the 90s, where serious topics would come about in the conversation, there was a very grim tone to it. You could clearly tell that whatever the serious issue was, it was not to be copied. I think now they try to capture the good parts and the bad parts of whatever these terrible decisions are that people are making, to try to put them in this atmosphere that makes them think yes, it's good, but only temporarily. And I understand why romanticizing something is bad. I know that the reason is because often it attracts more people who may have not been as interested before into this thing that they shouldn't be into. So a lot of older people, when they become concerned for these shows, it's because the drastic change that television has actually had. And someone broke down exactly what that means perfectly. The only problem is that the example that they used was about the Cosby Show, and I just don't really feel comfortable using that. And while we're on the subject, let's discuss how cancel culture has actually affected television. I think the older generation has suddenly felt this shift in television and this shift in media where things are a lot more sensitive than what they used to be. And I don't sensitive in a bad way. A lot of times when you ask the older generations how they currently feel about society, they feel like our generation is. I think there's also a huge gap in understanding why we want inclusivity so badly. The reason that we feel like it's more important that things are inclusive because yes, shows in the 80s and the 90s had these really great one-liners. They were really great shows. However, a lot of people were hurt in the process. A lot of misogyny happened that shouldn't have happened. A lot of people would leave those shows and maybe you were laughing, but a lot of people felt hurt by the things that were said. We want the characters who are minority groups to have bigger storylines beyond where they came from. We want inclusivity that means that the transgender character on the show is not going to only have their storyline be about being transgender. We want more disabled people at the front of TV. We want real people actually playing these real characters. We do not want non-disabled people playing disabled people. We do not want non-transgender people playing transgender people. Gen Z is very big on relatability. Nobody wants to be left out of the conversation. Now, I will say that some of these shows actually do start off great, but over time are plagued by lazy writing and inconsistency and plot holes. For example, they may introduce a problem for a character or a brand new character, and then we never hear about that problem or that character ever again, even after all this built-up tension. The people making the show spend so much time trying to build up all this tension and make us feel like we really need to care about this problem, all for them to drop it in the middle of the season. As an audience member, I completely understand why that can be frustrating because you get attached to these ideas. And when they don't follow up, it's kind of like starting the beginning of a sentence and not even finishing. Or it's kind of like starting a sentence and Anyway, characters who started off great in season 1 take a complete turnaround in season 2, and you don't even recognize the character anymore. And I don't have to say much for y'all to know exactly which show I'm talking about. TikTok's effect on TV. Our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter because of TikTok. Used to be able to get by with having like a slower pace. But even me now recording this, I have to constantly say my phrases super fast so that there's almost no space in between, because otherwise people get bored. It's gotten to the point now where people are complaining about 10-minute videos. I remember when TikTok first came out with their 10-minute video option. And I remember seeing a lot of people making TikToks saying basically, if you make a 10-minute video, don't expect me to watch it. Because I remember a time when people would watch 30-minute videos, an hour videos, 2-hour-long videos. And it's like, okay, well, what does that say about movies? With the shorter attention span growing shorter and shorter by the minute, it makes it harder to keep up in movies and in television and in music. People are now saying that at this point, if you make an album, it's a stupid decision because people are not going to have the time to actually go through it. Right now, with this video going on to being like 6 minutes and more, people probably have already stopped watching it at just 30 seconds. Gen Z hates commercials. And it's not even just our generation, it's even the older generations that are now saying that they can't stand watching commercials. So I think this brings an even bigger issue when it comes to marketing, where a poorly marketed show back in like the 80s or the 90s might have actually had somewhat of a chance. It has no chance in today's society. With TikTok came the social engineering that is constantly feeling the need for instant gratification. If we see something and within 3 seconds we're not getting some kind of shot of dopamine, we pretty much are not interested. And that is making for terrible TV. Writers now are stuck in this weird rubble. I would compare it to when I was younger and I used to be cleaning my room, and like it would have been so messy to the point where like, yes, I got most of the crap out of my room, but like there was still like little things in there, like in the way, like balled up pieces of paper or like a bunch of like shaved crayons on the floor or like little weird stuff like that. You're part of the cleaning process where you're kind of like, I don't know whether I should just throw all this away, and I don't really know how to throw this all the way. And I'm just really tired. They try to use our slang and they don't use it correctly because they don't understand it. Or they just steal random slang from TikTok and try to bunch it together, and it does not sound good. Or the timing of the show is bad. So like it almost seems like they're trying to use social issues as a way to make money. If the people making these shows actually took the time to be in Gen Z spaces and really understand us, I think things would go a lot better. I think a lot of these writers are a lot older, and so they can't relate to the younger generation, and so they try to speak to like their kids and try to relate through them, but it doesn't work because they're not Gen Zers. So much time trying to be relatable and use our slang and be with the in crowd or whatever is popping at the time, and they completely lose the quality of their content. Our generation invents new slang daily. It's hard to keep up. So when these shows are being filmed and they use certain words that we use, by the time the show actually comes out, we're not using those words anymore. So it sounds dated. Turning Red is a Disney Pixar film that is doing amazing on the charts. Why? Because it took an issue that is going to be an issue for the rest of time, being awkward in your puberty stage, which is something that most people go through and will be relatable to the end of time. But they also took generational trauma and made that the focus of the movie as well, which is something that Gen Z is realizing that we're dealing with a lot right now. People are looking to combine the old with the new. This clip from Scream actually explains exactly what I'm talking about in one sweet little bubble, so take it away.
Oh my god, he's making a requel.
A what?
Or like a sequel. Fans are torn on the terminology.
God, please speak English.
Okay, remember the Stab movie that came out last year?
Oh yeah, the one the Knives Out guy directed, right? You know, I actually really liked that one.
Of course you did. You have terrible taste.
I hate you.
The point is, the hardcore Stab fans hated it. You go on 4chan and Reddit. All they're talking about is how Stab 8 pissed on their childhoods, how they crammed in social commentary just to make it elevated, how the main character is a Mary Sue.
What's a Mary Sue?
You really don't want to know.
What's wrong with elevated horror? I mean, Jordan Peele fucking rules.
Obviously, but that's not Stab. Real Stab movies are meta-slasher whodunits, full stop.
Come on, it's just a movie.
No, it's not. To some people, the original is their favorite thing in the world. The movie that made them love horror, that mom or dad showed them when they were 10, that bonded them together. And God help anyone who slightly fucks with that special memory, who makes a movie they think disrespects it. It sounds like our killer is writing his own version of Stab 8, but doing it as a requel.
Which is?
See, you can't just reboot a franchise from scratch anymore. The fans won't stand for it. Black Christmas, Child's Play, Flatliners. That shit doesn't work. But you can't just do a straight sequel either. You gotta build something new, but not too new, or the internet goes bug fucking nuts. It's gotta be part of an ongoing storyline, even if the story shouldn't have been ongoing in the first place. New main characters, yes, but supported by and related to legacy characters. Not quite a reboot, not quite a sequel, like the new Halloween, Saw, Terminator, Jurassic Park, Ghostbusters, fuck, even Star Wars. It always goes back to the original.
I don't know who put Scream onto this whole idea, but they captured that perfectly. But that's just Scream. Scream has always been really good at keeping up with the times. Yeah, that's mostly all we want. All we want is to feel included and to feel like things are not being forced out of the characters' mouths, or at least at surface level. There's also a side of Gen Z where you literally will never be able to satisfy them, and I have to say that. But this is why I'm so passionate about TV, because it constantly gets people talking about the world around them. And some people could be like, it's literally just a show, like it's just TV, move on. But people don't understand that TV sometimes brings people together. It brings families that have been disconnected for years in the same room. TV can make you laugh, TV can make you cry, TV can make you look at your life completely different. And I think that's what is missing. I think there's still a part of Gen Z that really wants to look at themselves and see themselves in a way that makes them think about change. But that's just my take on it. I mean, I'm only one person, and obviously my opinions could be wrong because they're solely opinions based on my experiences. I want to know what you think. What do you think about why the world is changing? What do you think about why TV is constantly changing? What do you think about today's current state of TV? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Remember, if you do disagree, that is completely fine. But please, let's remember to be kind to each other. All right, I'll see you in the next one.